Hey there, and welcome back to Utility Sports. In today's video, we are covering the best remaining NBA free agents. Now, there's a lot of guys out here that can still impact winning, so I will go over a collective list of guys that will make an impact of the remaining free agents. Once again, go ahead, hit that subscribe button if you are new to our NBA content. We cover a lot of the NBA draft, NBA free agency, rumors, and also what's happening during the season. So make sure you do that. Now, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it here with James Harden. Now, James Harden is a player that declined his $47 million player option. This was obviously a big deal for him. Now he's eligible to sign, still that 5-year deal. He's going to make a lot of money. There's no question about it. Remains a free agent. However, the Philadelphia 76ers have made it a priority to re-sign him. So I think a deal will get done, 5-year deal. There's a lot of money on the table for James Harden, obviously a player that they thought was going to be very, very good with Joel Embiid, provide a lot of spacing, which that was true to some extent. However, Philadelphia still has made it a major priority for the franchise to go ahead, re-sign him. He's going to impact winning for some time. Still a terrific scorer, really good playmaker. And, once again, doesn't get enough credit for his rebounding at the guard position. So James Harden is a player that is definitely still in play for teams, but is very likely he's going back to the 76ers. Now we have DeAndre Ayton, and DeAndre Ayton is a player that is very, very tough to kind of gauge, where people value him. High value pick and roll guy. Also has the ability to hit from the mid range. Also a very, very a pretty good post scorer in general. Average 17, 10. So overall, average that double. He's a young player, still developing, still working on his craft, and we've not seen the best of DeAndre Ayton yet. So very, very likely we see a sign and trade get done. That way, the Phoenix Suns are able to recoup some assets. The team that is obviously trading for him is going to be able to get off of the salary of some of, maybe their mid-tier contracts to make that money work for a guy like DeAndre Ayton. So he is a player that is kind of exciting to watch here. How are teams going to evaluate him? Is a lot of his success predicated on really good guard play, which that's very well what people could be thinking. With Chris Paul, Devin Booker, 2 elite level guards playing with him. Where's his true value lying right now? I'm kind of shocked to hear, there isn't as much rumors as I thought there was going to be. However, that very well could pick up within the next couple of days. The market has slowed down. A lot of the money has been spent, but DeAndre Ayton still remains to be a very, very good player still in the market. He's young. I think that there's going to be some big suitors for him. Now it's all about making the money work, making the sign and trade work for these teams. Now, the next one here is a guy that's very, very curious to me, having only played, I think, 11 games last year, Collin Sexton, the dynamic scoring guard from the Cleveland Cavaliers, obviously restricted 16 points a game, 2.1 assists, and 3.3 rebounds per game. When you look at Collin Sexton, he is a player that, he's explosive. He is very, very explosive. He's a good scorer. Once again, where would his market be had he not gotten injured last year? With 11 games played, it makes it really tough to kind of gauge on value, where he's going to be sitting. If you're looking for a true a guard that's able to put the ball in the hoop, this is your guy. Now, I think Collin Sexton still is going to have quite a few suitors. I'm still looking at the San Antonio Spurs as a team that might be interested. There's a number of teams that can make some money, can make it work out, but to me, Collin Sexton is a player that is worth the risk. He's worth paying a pretty good dollar for. You're going to be getting him at a discount, but when you look at what he can bring from an offensive punch standpoint, I feel like Cleveland's in a situation where that's more so Darius Garland's team at that guard spot. Everybody thought it was going to be Collin Sexton. Who knows? Maybe they retain him and make that work. However, I think there's a lot of suitors out there that are thinking about Collin Sexton and really where they could go with him. If you're looking at a roster that's not going to be winning a ton of games, maybe going ahead, signing him and trading him to a contender midway throughout the year, to me seems pretty viable. In my opinion, it seems viable. They would have to wait until, after the December mark to move him. However, I think that's well worth it if you are a team looking to just pick up some more assets. So if you're going to be, more so towards the bottom of the standings and you want to be able to recoup a ton of different assets, I think Collin Sexton would be a really good candidate to sign and then later on trade. Or you just pick up a really young guard that's going to be fun and dynamic moving forward. So in my opinion, it's a win-win situation if you go ahead and sign a guy like Collin Sexton. I think maybe more so the issue is what's that dollar amount going to look like? I think this is not a talent issue. This is more so, to me, where's that dollar amount going to be? And teams have not came up to, his price that he's commending. Dennis Schroeder, another player that is kind of interesting here. I look at 13.5 points per game, 4.6 assists, 3.3 rebounds per game. Schroeder is a player that when you look at what he is, he's been traded, in his career, got moved for a first round selection. Dennis Schroeder is a really nice plug and play guy off the bench. And he's a really good second unit guy. He's a guy that can be kind of a spark plug off the bench. This is a player that you can go ahead and plug and play into a lineup. I don't see him being a part of many closing lineups, especially in playoff situations. However, I do see him being a valuable asset, especially during that regular season and, just coming off the bench in the playoffs. This is a perfect time to get him at a reduced cost for sure. So Dennis Schroeder is another one. Now I'm going to follow that up with a guy like Montrezl Harrell. Now, Montrezl Harrell is a player that is more so suited, once again, to be a top-tier scoring option off the bench. 13 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game. And looking at Montrezl Harrell, his time with the LA Clippers was pretty special. Obviously, won a 6th Man of the Year. He was a player that you could definitely trust off the bench, gave you a lot of scoring output. Defensively has a little bit of limitations. I think that's more so the issues with teams. So Montrezl Harrell is another player that you definitely have to consider as, a really good, potentially cheap option. I'm kind of curious to see, with some of his issues that he has off the court, how that is going to impact his free agency, which to me, it already has. I think had that not been as much of a concern, he would have been signed earlier. So we have a couple of guys like that in free agency, including players like Miles Bridges as well. So that is going to affect free agency outcomes. Montrezl Harrell is a terrific guy to have come off the bench. Still has a lot of good basketball left in him, and you're going to be getting him at a very reduced cost. So Montrezl Harrell is a guy that I'm keeping my eye on very, very closely. Big impact off the bench, a player that you can, really rally behind on that second unit and can, provide a lot of punch. Now I have Blake Griffin, and Blake Griffin is a player that, he's not what he used to be. However, he can be a quality contributor for a number of teams, whether it's contending teams or non-contending teams. He's a quality contributor. Still, once again, not that guy he used to be, back in his Lob City days. However, this is a player that is, continuing to try to reinvent himself to fit more in the modern NBA. Blake Griffin, obviously with the Brooklyn Nets, we saw some flashes with them. I think that's fair to say. We definitely had seen some flashes. So Blake Griffin's another guy I'm keeping my eye on moving forward, just considering there has been some interest from, potential contenders even. I've heard a little bit about the LA Clipper reunion. I don't know if that's going to happen, but at the end of the day, there are some teams that are going to line up for his services, and he can still be a valuable rotational piece. And then LaMarcus Aldridge, another player that definitely impacts winning. I think when you look at what he can still provide offensively, especially in that mid-range, which has been his bread and butter in his career, phenomenal from the mid-range, averaged 12.9 points per game, 5.5 rebounds per game, and 0.9 assists. LaMarcus Aldridge, more so health issues has been kind of the concern. Obviously, his age is also a concern, but when I look at what LaMarcus Aldridge can still bring offensively, it really kind of reminds you of what Al Horford's able to do. Al Horford has a little bit more of a 3-point, game than Aldridge does. However, Aldridge, very, very effective, could still be a pretty good scoring option. Once again, you're going to be getting him for a little bit cheaper. A lot of these guys are going to be signing for less than we actually expect them to, in my opinion, just because we're at the later stages of the free agency period. A lot of guys have came and signed already. So that is something that we have to definitely keep monitoring for sure. But, overall, this is still a good free agent class that remains. There's other players that are still impact guys, but these were the top guys that I deemed as worthy for sure. LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, Collin Sexton, Dennis Schroeder, James Harden, DeAndre Ayton, Montrezl Harrell. Really good group that we still have remaining. Let me know once again in the comment section below who you think that your team should sign. Also, remember, hit that like button and also the subscribe button if you did enjoy today's content. We produce a lot of NBA stuff, a lot of NBA videos throughout the course of the entire season. So make sure you don't miss a minute of it. We appreciate you guys stopping by, and we will catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.